Welcome back to Saturday Morning Savage. Time now for our big debate, and it's on the development of young players, the pathway. You know, I used to do the jobs, I used to clean the toilets, I used to clean the boots. That's all changed now. So great to bring you on this, Glenn, because you're currently at a Premier League club. You got released at Carlisle when you were 16. You took a different route to get back into the Premier League, which you've done great. But what are the young players like now at a Premier League club? The facilities they've got, you know, they don't do the jobs. How do you find being around them?
Yeah, I think it's what they're allowed to get away with. But once upon a time, I've seen it in clubs where kids, like you say, do the jobs, clean toilets, clean stand, clean boots, things like that. I think it's a good grounding for kids to come through, and it makes them appreciate when they step up to the first team and they don't have to do those jobs. It's like an added little bonus. Now clubs don't make kids clean boots. They get rewarded with big contracts. They train in elite performance centres, beautiful pitches, beautiful changing rooms. There's no drive to take the next step to have nice things, if you know what I mean. Like they've been given so much so young. You're
ahead of the Tottenham Academy as well, and you've seen young players, technically great players. Have they got that drive and determination?
You know, it's up to the coaches to make sure that they keep that hunger. You know, it's very difficult when you're taking from from the Tottenham Academy in the London kids. You know, coming from not a lot hungry background, probably which makes them an attraction to the clubs, and you bring them in and you start pampering them, then you're going to take the hunger away from them. Some of these kids, especially at the majority of big academies in the Premier League now, get too much too early, and unfortunately you're creating a monster because the hunger gets taken away from them. They start seeing all the trimmings before they've actually done anything in the game. And it all becomes too much too early, and unfortunately you're not seeing them break through. A lot of kids these days want to blame the system. They look at the likes of me, who I'm always pushing for them to get an opportunity to play, and you see it in the media now. Sometimes it looks like they're making excuses for them. So the kids now can just, instead of rolling their sleeves up and want to push and want to get an opportunity, they just say, well, the system doesn't allow us to play because we're not going to get a chance at these big clubs now because of the influx of foreign players. Now, I go back to when I was developed at Watford. If I had to start again, I wouldn't not made it. You know, I was allowed to go into the first team.
You're a Premier League winning captain.
I know, but I'm telling you, Rob, I would not have made it because these kids now, if they get an opportunity to play in the first team, if they're poor, you never see them again, ever. But the £50 million player, he can go in and be just as poor, and he will continually get the opportunities to play. Now, the managers will always say, yeah, but I can't take a risk on a player. You're taking risk with anyone you put in your first team. But the kids care more. The ones coming through your academy are the ones what care more.
So am I wrong to say, because I was a great believer, and obviously I come through that class in 92, and I'm a great believer, if you're good enough, you'll make it. Am I wrong?
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it when I hear people say that. It's about the pathways you tread and the people you meet along the way, and if you're going to get the opportunities to play. Now, I agree with the academy system up to the age of 18 on the games programme I'm talking about. After that, they need to get out and play men's football, a real competitive edge football match. The likes of Dele Alli, he's not such a good player because he's come through an academy system. He's had his backside wiped for 5 years. He hasn't had that. He's game ready. He knows. We can see Dele. It's quite obvious in the way he plays that he's smart. He's game smart. He knows it, but he's been hardened in League One playing for MK Dons. Then he comes to Tottenham, and his career doesn't stop there like many others would. It continues because he's got a manager there who wants to develop him, wants to put him in around world-class players, and he's just blossomed. But it's because he's had that hard grounding at League One and League Two level, and I think that's what you need to get as soon as possible.
Do you think, Rob, you've got a son at Manchester United, do you think he's at the right club? And at what stage would you make the decision maybe for him to go elsewhere?
Well, my son's 16. Is at a time now where they're going to decide whether he gets a scholarship or not, and he's going through his exams. It's a huge period in that youngster's life. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he wants to. I believe he wants to stay at Manchester United. Whether he will or not, I don't know. But
would you step in though?
How can I step in? Because you've got, as Glenn's alluded to,
if you don't feel he's going to make it, and that is the correct pathway, one of the toughest pathways at United to get into the first.
Then I would ask for advice. Like I'd ask advice of Tim, who's been there, who's managed kids at that age. What would be the best for my son as a parent? And I know parents do get involved too much, and I'd like to stand back because I've been through the system. 1% of players actually make it, and I think 75% of players who sign professional contracts leave the game. They're not in the game by the time they're 21. So I know how difficult it is. So my son's at Manchester United. what would you know, he's doing okay, he's doing well, I believe, but what advice would you give me as a parent of a 16-year-old who's on the edge of getting a scholarship or not? Stay there, and if he gets offered a scholarship, I'll go and play.
Yeah, we'll certainly stay there to the age of 18, when the games programme, I think, is a good leveller. After the age of 18, he needs to go and play games. To play in the under-21, under-23 league when every game looks exactly the same is no good for his development whatsoever. So he needs to either get a loan, but it's no good loaning and go and sit next to the manager of the loan club. He needs to go and loan and play. Now, that, whether it's a good, bad or indifferent loan, that experience, what he's getting at another club lower down the tier, is far better than what he's getting playing on under-23 football when Man United might be winning all the cups, as Chelsea do. It doesn't matter. Whoever wins the youth cup, it does not matter. It doesn't matter one iota to the development of that individual player. The problem you've got at these academies now, Robbie, and we're not picking anyone's club. We're just saying, I think too many of them, the coaches are developing for their own development. They want to climb the ladder and they want to be managers themselves. Now,
so you said change the coaches?
Yeah, a lot of the time you need to change the coaches. You need to continue to develop the individual. You're not developing teams. You're not developing the under-18s and the under-21s, under-23s. Doesn't matter if they win. You need to develop the individual and push him higher up the ladder, nearer towards the first team. And then someone in that academy has to back them players. You have to have a personality to go to, say at Brighton, for instance, if I was running their academy, I'll say to Chris Hughton, I've got a young number 9 who's 18. Get rid of Glenn. Was there a last chance to sell Glenn Murray? We need to get 2 million, 5 million, 20 million pound for him. I'm ready. And then he can say to me, no, Tim, no, I don't agree with that. I say, listen, he might not be ready now, but in 6 months' time with development and the games programme in the first team. Now, Chris might say, quite right, we might get relegated in the meantime. We need Glenn now.
But then Chris is going to say, well, I've got tried and tested here and I've got a kid that's unknown.
Exactly.
So he's got to be blooded in gently, hasn't he?
Of course he has.
So you're not just going to sell your striker and just get a kid in?
No, but you might not be his main striker at the time. So what I'm saying is he needs to... when is that kid ever going to get that opportunity? You need to make a stance.
I think, like you say about Harry Kane, I think what he did was the best thing he could have done. Now he's possibly the world's best striker.
Yeah.
He went out and he learned his trade. It didn't always go to plan, but he was playing against men week in, week out, learning how to protect himself, learning how to hold the ball up, learning how to score goals.
Harry Kane went out. He played for Chris Hughton, who's manager of Brighton, Nigel Pearson, and Russell Slade. Not one of them managers said he would be a Premier League footballer.
Wow. Fascinating stuff. We could go on for hours about that.